So I have to reflect on my mental state and what was going on with me in November of 1993. I was doing fine, you know. I've never had um, anything like, you know, clinical mental disabilities or, anything like that. Oh yeah, one thing I want to say is in part one, there was one other, well, two other people that I knew that I would consider that they were friends related to another band that I was in just not too long before I moved to Albuquerque. And this has to do with a premonition dream. I had a premonition dream related. So when I was saying I lost I hadn't lost really any friends besides Yari. Um, there was two members from a band called Big Top that actually, see, this is weird. It might have been 1990, I want to say. We played a show with Big Top. Subvert did, and after the show, what was his name? The guitarist dude and his brother. They were in a car and they got in a head-on collision and died that night. The night before that happened, I had a dream that two friends in a different band died. And that's the first time I'd ever had that happen to me. Where I had like this premonition dream that weren't the same people. But I remember like waking up remembering that I just dreamt about two friends dying. And they were very specific people from a band, friends that I knew. And then hearing that, fuck, I can't remember their names, that they just died last night. Two friends from a band I just played with just died. Anyway, so yeah, my life is weird at times, right? So my mental stability is all right, but I have strange things happen that I can't explain. But I'm like, what the fuck, you know? So I'm sitting in the basement of this house that I lived in. I lived in this basement room. One of the times I didn't live in a closet or in a partial room. um, I had this overwhelming sensation, thing, voice, spiritual awakening too, because it wasn't just this voice saying that Kurt's going to be murdered. There was more to it. And now it wasn't like I was going around thinking, "Oh, Kurt's going to be murdered. Kurt's going to be murdered," you know. I was more like something's going to happen. I was convinced, though the initial feeling, and I only talked to one friend because it's one of those things. It's like a weird premonition thing where you don't know how seriously you can take it really, because I'm not a psychic. So again, it's very hard to explain, but I wanted to try to go into more detail with you. So I get this, and I am freaked out. And I know, oh yeah, Kurt's going to be murdered. You need to go see him. That was the whole thing. And it was very like, it wasn't a thought. It was like this voice message, you know, and fucking intense. It freaked me out. Within the same, my life completely changed, because part of it, that was this feeling I had to believe in myself and I had to listen closely. That was part of it. It was like this spiritual awakening I felt like I was going through. I mean, I really changed. I felt like it was so impacting on me. I remember, like, I wish that, you know, I wish I would have talked about it more, because the one friend that I did talk to, I talked to her not that long ago, and she was saying, "Oh yeah, I remember that. Like, it was like a dream." And I was like, "No, it wasn't a dream." But that's how she remembers it, you know. Because when I told her about it, she just doesn't remember it like I told her. That's it's frustrating. But she does remember. She does remember that I was very freaked out, thinking something was going to happen to Kurt. Very freaked out. Anyway, but she was the only person that I talked to. Like, I talked to others, um, that I, really, really wanted to go see Kurt. I really needed to go see Kurt. It was more like that. And that happened. Anyway, that was really strange. And as much as I want to try to explain it, it's very difficult to explain. So, we move on, and that is obsessing me. I'm obsessed with what happened to me there, right? I did everything from went to church, I talked to my mom, she wanted me to go to a hypnotherapist. She was going to a hypnotherapist. I had a few different women in my life that I was very close to, that I talked to a lot. Like four different women that I was, or six, you know? I mean, honestly, like, not, I don't think I even had a girlfriend, you know? I mean, like, even someone I was, like, intimately with, I wasn't. I mean, it's weird to think about that, but oh, I remember. See, this is weird. It's like this spiritual awakening. I remember removing. So I used to wear rings. I had piercings. I had 2 piercings in this ear. Removed those. Removed my rings. I'd wear like a leather double necklace, or it was just a leather band. It like went around twice. Sometimes I'd have like a pendant or something. I removed all of that, and I wouldn't wear anything, and I never really have ever since then, except for a wedding ring, because I was married for a few years. Make sure I'm still recording. I'm just saying, man, it was like, and that was like part of, what the fuck was going on with me? For some reason, I removed. It had to do with, like, removing this ego reflection, I was tripping out. And I really was. And I remember I started wearing black, only black. And it wasn't in any reason having to do with death. It was like, I had this thing with like, black was the combination of all the colors or something like that. I remember that was part of it. But I had intense conversations relating to, like, I'd get in these like really deep like philosophical things were happening where I would talk about things that were on this philosophical spiritual level that I know that I was already, my head was there, but I didn't remember ever talking like that as much. Anyway, a lot was going on. November 1993. So, I remember going to see the Melvins. And I haven't shared this. Went and saw the Melvins, and it would have been, I think, in December of, in December of 93. I went to go see them, well, I would have saw them 3 times, really close together. But twice, where I had talked to Buzz and Dale about Kurt. Now, I didn't tell them everything, but part of the conversation, this in Seattle, the show in Seattle, it was with Plainfield both nights. So if you look at the history of Melvins, you could probably find it would have been in December of 93. They played with Plainfield at the off-ramp. Then the next night they played in Olympia. I think it was right after the night after. They played in Olympia with Plainfield. And I talked to them both nights, but it was in Olympia that I was talking about Kurt very specifically and literally going like, I'm really fucking worried about Kurt. I feel like there's something really wrong. I feel like something's going to happen. I was really fucking worried, you know? And I remember those guys kind of like, well, they didn't really know what to say. I mean, it sounded like, all I can remember is that they said that they hadn't been able to talk to Kurt very much lately, but he was, as far as they knew, he was probably okay. I don't remember, but from their side, they weren't worried. You know, if I remember right, they weren't as much worried. And this would have been like, this would have been December of 93. I didn't get a sense like, they were that worried. And they probably worried about me, probably thought like momentarily like, holy shit, Perky's like freaking out. But again, like, I didn't tell them, my premonition, but I relayed to them that something was really wrong, and I was really worried. Anyway, so, fuck, this is probably going to have a third part, huh? I got a few more minutes. I remember talking to Buzz and Dale about the band that I was in. I brought a videotape with me, so that was Laughter Train, and playing it for them, and you know, really talking up my band too. You know, that was definitely part of the conversation. So part of the conversation was like, "Fuck, I'm in this amazing band, Laughter Train," and we watched the video, and those I remember those guys liking like the live. I mean, what I played for them. Laughter Train at that point was a pretty intense band. Um, Not like the videos I just posted. This is earlier Laughter Train. I've posted earlier Laughter Train um, on my YouTube. So bands like Innocent Child and Wasted and Dizzy City, um, you know, River. Um, anyway, so I play it for them, and they're, you know, they dig it, but I am very worried about Kurt and what's going on with Kurt, and relaying to them that I feel like something is really wrong. So I say everything I can possibly say, except that I think that he's going to die and possibly be murdered. I'm going to say possibly be murdered at this point in my life because, you know, it's it's not written in stone what was going on with me. I'm relaying exactly how I felt. And those are the words that came to mind then. Kurt's going to be murdered. I need to go see him. You know. Anyway, okay, there's going to be a part 3. Alright, thanks.